crime story.
House of Horrors by Louise and David Turpin, who held their 13 children captive for years. Leo Tolstoy's famous opening statement rings true: all happy families are happy in the same way. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. This sentiment profoundly captures the essence of the Turpin family's tragic tale. In most cases, we remain oblivious to the hidden turmoil within the sanctity of a family's home. The Turpin family, outwardly appearing prosperous, concealed a dreadful secret that unraveled in 2018. Shockingly, it was disclosed that the parents had subjected their 13 children to a nightmarish existence. These innocent souls were shackled to their beds, fed sporadically, and permitted to bathe only once or twice annually. As retribution for their unspeakable actions, the 50-year-old mother and her 58-year-old husband were sentenced to life imprisonment in 2019. In the courtroom, it became evident that Louise Turpin, in partnership with her spouse David, subjected their children to deplorable conditions for possibly an extended period, spanning years, if not decades. The profound isolation and fear experienced by some of these children left them entirely ignorant of fundamental aspects of life, including concepts as fundamental as medicine and law enforcement. However, one brave girl managed to escape from the House of Horrors, a name later ascribed by the media in 2018, and reported the harrowing truth to the authorities, leading to the revelation of the full extent of their torment. The living conditions endured by the children were nothing short of astonishing. Their meager allowance of food limited them to just one meal a day, rendering them painfully emaciated. The eldest daughter of Louise, a 29-year-old woman, weighed a mere 37 kilograms at the time of her rescue, appearing no older than 18 due to her severe malnourishment. Additionally, the children were permitted to shower only once a year, while any transgressions within the household resulted in severe punishments, often confining them to their beds for days, and sometimes even weeks. The turning point in this harrowing tale occurred when their 17-year-old daughter mustered the courage to escape, reaching out to a passerby for a cell phone to call the police. This courageous act led to the swift arrest of Louise and David Turpin. Their residence became synonymous with a house of horrors, a term that aptly described the nightmarish circumstances the children endured. Louise Ann Turpin, born on May 24, 1968, was one of 6 children in a preacher's family. As she testified in court, her early life was marked by an unhappy and tumultuous upbringing characterized by resentment, punishment, and hardship. Her sister also corroborated these claims in the media, asserting that their family had subjected them to excessive harshness. Growing up, we were subjected to an endless array of restrictions, and Louise, in turn, transferred these early experiences to her own children, Louise's sister declared. Despite the passing of their parents, Wayne and Phillips, in 2016, Louise displayed little desire to attend their funeral. The interactions between her children and their grandparents were so sparse that they could be counted on one hand. At the age of 16, Louise fell deeply in love with a 23-year-old school electronics technician, David, and their affection was reciprocated. David proposed an elopement, and Louise readily agreed, abandoning her education and leaving her parents behind. In 1984, the two embarked on a journey from Princeton, West Virginia, to Texas. However, their elopement was interrupted when the police intercepted them en route and returned Louise home. This temporary separation didn't deter the couple, and eventually, Louise's parents conceded to their union, granting their blessing. Subsequently, a simple wedding was arranged, and they officially became husband and wife in West Virginia in 1985. Their first child arrived 3 years later, and over a span of 27 years. From 1988 to 2015, they welcomed 10 daughters and 3 sons into their family. Remarkably, during these decades, they managed to evade suspicion. This was largely due to the fact that their children were homeschooled by Louise, and their home was isolated from visitors, with no one ever crossing its threshold. Only after they left their former residence in Rio Vista, Texas, and relocated to Paris, California in 2014, did some unsettling details emerge. When new tenants moved into their former home, They noticed unsightly streaks on the floors and walls, resembling feces, as well as beds adorned with ropes and chains. The house was strewn with garbage and spoiled food, and in one room, they made the grim discovery of a deceased dog. Despite these alarming findings, little attention was paid to them at the time. The children had no one to turn to but each other, even though Louise and David had complete control over their 13 children. Those resilient souls never lost hope of liberation. This hope materialized in January 2018 when a 17-year-old girl, unable to endure the torment any longer, made a daring escape through a window. She reached the city and successfully dialed 911. In a brief but chilling account, she implored for the rescue of her sisters and brothers. They have chained them to their beds, and when their siblings wake up in the night and start crying, their parents won't let them go near them. They also don't want me to tell anyone about it, the terrified girl revealed. I wanted to call someone for help for a long time, but I was very scared because parents said they would hurt my brothers and sisters. Though Louise and David Turpin were ultimately apprehended, their children had endured these inhumane conditions for an extended period. They were isolated from the world, permitted to communicate only with their parents. Louise's sister later disclosed that, no matter how many times she requested to see her nephews and nieces, her pleas were consistently rebuffed. Neighbors who attempted to engage with the children also found it impossible to extract any words from them. The police swiftly responded to the 17-year-old girl's distress call and arrived at the home of the unsuspecting Louise and David Turpin that very day. Inside, they encountered what could aptly be described in precise terms as a house of horrors. Although the police officers initially estimated the children's ages to be around 18 years based on their physical appearance, it was soon discovered that they ranged from 2 to 29 years old at the time. Their emaciated, malnourished frames bore witness to their prolonged suffering and near starvation. The lack of personal hygiene was evident, as they had not bathed for an extended period. During subsequent interviews, the children bravely disclosed that they had endured physical abuse on multiple occasions. Furthermore, they revealed that they had been confined to cages, subjected to intentional starvation, and chained to beds. Adding to the distressing scene, when the police entered the house, they witnessed Louise in the act of untying one of her daughters from a bed while her 22-year-old brother remained bedridden. He explained to the officers that he was being punished, not only for stealing food but also on mere suspicion of disrespect. The boy later clarified that these punishments were often meted out arbitrarily, without any genuine reason or explanation. This left a disturbing question lingering. Why did the Turpins manage to perpetuate their abuse for such an extended period? The Turpin family had adopted a predominantly nocturnal lifestyle, seemingly in an attempt to prevent prying neighbors from scrutinizing their situation too closely. Although numerous factors raised concerns, neither neighbors nor outsiders engaged closely with the parents or children, often choosing to ignore them altogether. As a result, the children, deprived of sustenance and basic sanitary conditions, were not only malnourished but also prohibited from venturing outside during daylight hours. When acquaintances and neighbors of the Turpin family learned about the horrifying treatment of the children, they were left in a state of shock. It appeared that they hardly knew Louise and David at all. This revelation was especially jarring because all the photos shared on social media depicted what seemed to be a typical and well-intentioned family. Strangely, none of the neighbors had noticed anything amiss for an extended period. It begs the question, did they turn a blind eye? Or were the distressing conditions and abuse within the house so inconceivable that they couldn't reconcile them with the cheerful images of the Turpin family that flooded the internet? These photos portrayed a seemingly happy family, going on trips to Disneyland, planning birthday celebrations, and even participating in 3 vow renewal ceremonies between Louise and David Turpin in 2011, 2013, and 2015. Incredibly, every single image captured was carefully staged. Once the family was out of the camera's sight or away from the prying eyes of neighbors, they returned to their sinister home. To the friends of the Turpin family, certain aspects appeared peculiar. They noted that in these photos, the parents consistently dressed their children in matching outfits. For instance, during a family trip to Las Vegas, all 13 children were seen in identical purple dresses or jackets. It was as if the parents aimed to suppress individuality through this outward conformity and convince others of their family's normality. No one had an inkling of the profound sadness that lay concealed within the Turpin household. In court, David Turpin's mother revealed that she hadn't seen her grandchildren for nearly 5 years, as her son forbade them from communicating via phone. Even the neighbors, while taken aback by the revelation of the Turpins holding their children captive, admitted that they scarcely glimpsed the younger ones, and the older ones rarely ventured into the yard. When they did, they appeared extraordinarily pale, as if they had never experienced the sun's warmth. Even the couple's lawyer, Ivan Tarhan, expressed astonishment when confronted with the seemingly cheerful family photos. He initially conveyed that the parents had treated their children with love and care, even taking them on vacations and enjoyable trips to Disneyland. However, the photographic evidence was the sole basis for such claims, and he had little more to offer in the Turpins' defense. The Turpin children's alarming condition was undeniable. Their extreme emaciation made them appear several years younger than their actual ages. Following their liberation, many of them required hospitalization. Their growth had been stunted, their muscles had atrophied, and an 11-year-old girl's arm had withered to the size of an infant's. In addition to enduring starvation, the children were stripped of the ordinary childhood pleasures, such as board games or typical toys, not to mention phones and computers. The only activity they were permitted to engage in to any degree was journal writing. Louise submitted official paperwork to the state of California to initiate homeschooling for their children once the eldest child had completed the 3rd grade. Following this, the children were granted the rare privilege of going outside on exceptional occasions, such as Halloween or a few of the aforementioned trips to Las Vegas or Disneyland Park. Most of the time, however, the children were confined to their rooms, emerging solely for their single daily meal or to use the restroom. Any efforts to leave their rooms were sternly discouraged. The question that perplexes many is, why did the Turpins subject their children to such torment? In a recent interview, Louise Turpin's 44-year-old sister, Elizabeth Flores, attempted to shed light on the matter by highlighting the exceedingly strict upbringing imposed by their parents. While not absolving Louise of responsibility, her words do offer a plausible explanation, raising concerns for the well-being of all her nieces and nephews. During her court appearance, Louise herself stated the following: "I didn't do it, it's not my fault. I wish I could explain to you what happened, but I just can't do it because my lawyer doesn't recommend saying anything as it would get me in even more trouble." Flores shared that during their initial encounter, Louise vehemently denied everything, seemingly unwilling to acknowledge her sister's revelations. It was as though she was reluctant to accept the reality of the situation and displayed no remorse. "It wasn't until the next time I saw her in the courtroom on March 23rd that she looked like the kind of person who was beginning to realize what she had done," Flores sadly recounted. During Flores' visit to Louise in jail, the two engaged in a brief conversation. "Many more days will pass before you can fully realize and come to terms with everything that was done and left undone concerning your children. I can't believe it's been a year since I last saw them. I miss them deeply and long to reunite with them. Let's not dwell on the topic of the children because I fear I may never see them again for the rest of my life," Louise said tearfully. Nonetheless, Flores maintains that her sister, Louise, is culpable for her actions and concurs with the court's judgment. She deserves the consequences that await her. Regarding the fate of the children, one would hope to report that they are thriving, but the reality is more complex. Following Louise and David's life sentences, the 6 younger children found refuge in an orphanage and were later adopted. The adults, without substantial state support, were left to forge new lives independently. Out of the 7 older children, only one was able to pursue higher education and is now attending college. 2 secured jobs and are living in rented apartments. One of the women has engaged in volunteer work and regularly attends church. Sadly, 2 others found themselves homeless and struggled to adapt to the outside world. Very little is known about the remaining individual, as they maintain minimal contact with each other, almost as if they are striving to erase the memories of their traumatic past. As this case gained prominence as one of the most significant in recent American history, numerous individuals chose to extend their assistance by contributing funds to a dedicated trust. Currently, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars held in this account. However, owing to bureaucratic complications, none of the Turpins are able to access these funds. The money is under the oversight of a court-appointed public guardian. For instance, in November 2021, Joshua Turpin submitted a request for several $100s to purchase a bicycle but had his request denied. Consequently, the family now faces a fresh legal ordeal, this time involving a dispute with the state social services, where they must defend the money that was generously donated to them. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video, and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.